Hello, and welcome to another edition of Cal Conversations. I'm Beth Hadfield, the Activity Coordinator at the Center for Active Living. Today, we would like to discuss World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. I'm going to give you a little history, and then I'm going to talk to some key players in preventing and stopping elder abuse. World Elder Abuse Day, which we call WEAD, was launched on June 15, 2006 by the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse and the World Health Organization at the United Nations. The purpose of WEAD is to provide an opportunity for communities around the world to promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older persons by raising awareness of the cultural, social, economic, and demographic processes affecting elder abuse and neglect. Today, my guests are Terry Kourtz from OCES. She is the Director of Protective Services. Tim Cruz, the Plymouth County District Attorney, and Joseph McDonald Jr., the Plymouth County Sheriff. Today, each of these people will talk in detail about signs we need to look for in our elder friends, the current scams we need to be aware of, safety tips and ways to engage others and combat social isolation. Terry Kourtz from OCES is the Director of Protective Services. Terry, thank you for joining us today. Can you share signs and symptoms of abuse with us and what our friends and neighbors should be looking for?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Last year, we received 40,127 reports across the state of Massachusetts regarding elder abuse. Today, we come together as a panel to recognize World Elder Abuse Awareness Day and help bring recognition to the elder victims of abuse. Some signs and symptoms that you can look for: emotional and behavioral signs, unusual changes in behavior or sleep, fear or anxiety, isolation, being sad. Some physical signs that you might see of physical abuse or neglect could be broken bones, bruises, torn clothing, sores. It could be, somebody is in poor nutrition and look like they've lost weight. It could be their poor living situation. It could be that they're missing key elements of daily living that they need, like glasses or walkers or medications. Some financial signs that you might see is, changes in bank accounts or late bills, that their money is not being managed appropriately. They could be signing financial documents to sign over their home, or being brought to the bank to withdraw money. So these might be some of the signs and symptoms that you might see as a family member or a friend, or somebody entering an elder's home, that would raise a red flag for you to be able to know that something's not right. And if something's not right, we encourage people to file a report so that we can try and assist with an assessment to see what's happening and hopefully get some services in there to assist an elder who might be suffering from some form of abuse, neglect, or financial exploitation. So elder abuse is a hidden crime. If we see something, we should say something. What we want to do on this panel is raise awareness and work together collaboratively to let our elders know that there is help and we are there to assist them in the community with programs and making sure that, people know that we're here to help them. So we look at trying to work together to put in some services to help with these abusive situations. Protective services will work with a consumer to develop a service plan to help alleviate the abuse, which could include medical assistance or companion services, or Old Colony offers a wide variety of home care services to go in the home. It could involve assistance with helping somebody go to court to obtain a restraining order, or a court intervention. Money management could be of assistance. Protective services will work with the person to figure out what they want to do with the situation to help them be able to stay in their home and live independently, free from abuse. We work again collaboratively with the people on this panel, and the Council on Aging, the CAL, is our eyes and ears in the community. We work directly with the DA's office when we substantiate serious abuse or neglect. We'll be making a report to them to see what we can do again to help an elder. We work collaboratively with the Sheriff's Department in the planning process for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, where we have 2 marches, which I'm sure Beth will talk a little bit about, one in Brockton and one in Plymouth. Our Plymouth March is on Thursday, June 20th, and we encourage people to come out and help take a stand against elder abuse. To march with us, we meet down at the Tavern on the Wharf, and we begin our march, and we have a lunch afterwards. And this is to help build awareness in the community, to let people know that we are here to help, and we want to make sure that people can recognize those signs and symptoms to report elder abuse. To report elder abuse, you can contact us at the Old Colony Elder Services, which is OCES, at 508-584-1561, and or the Centralized Intake Unit, which is 1-800-922-2275. We're here to help.
Terry, if somebody calls and makes a report, do they ever know that there was any kind of follow-up? And I guess, or how would they know that there was a follow-up and if something was substantiated?
I'm glad you asked that. The information for the reporter is kept confidential. We don't release who reports anything to us. The only person that gets that information is the DA's office. In our regulations, that information is confidential. So if someone wants to know who filed a report, we can't confirm or deny, but the reporter is entitled to information about that report. So the reporter is entitled to know what happens with that report, if it's screened in or screened out, as well as what the result of our assessment or investigation is. So the worker and the screener are going to make contact with that reporter depending on what happens with the case. So there is follow-up. And if ever you file a report and you want to know what happened with it, you can just call us and we'll respond and look it up and say, okay, you reported this case. We'll look it up and this person was contacted and accepted help or didn't.
Okay. What does screened in or screened out mean?
If we screen in a case, that means it's going to be assigned to a caseworker to make contact with the elder, to go out and do a home visit to determine what's happening. We are required to make face-to-face contact with the person. So screening it in means it's going to be assigned to a worker to do an assessment. If we screen out a case, it's most likely going to mean that we're going to be making referrals on behalf of that person, which could include to our other departments. It could be home care services, family caregiver support services, or it could mean that it doesn't meet our current jurisdiction and we're going to make sure it gets to that other agency that would have that jurisdiction.
Okay. All right. Great. Terry, thank you for all that information. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
The next we have Timothy Cruz, Plymouth County District Attorney. Thank you, DA Cruz, for joining us today. What are the current scams that you are hearing about, and how can we help these people protect themselves?
Well, thanks, Beth. It's great to be here today in front of everybody and talking a little bit about, what we do, especially during World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, because we really do need to make people aware of what's going on to make sure that they can get help to the people that need it when they need it the most. So although June 15th is the date, we have every day really in the courthouse is really to be aware of the problems and the issues that seniors may have, whether or not they've been physically hurt or all too often, financially hurt. And so myself and Sheriff McDonald and our organizations will often go to Council on Aging's and go and talk about the issues that we're dealing with and that we see, because making seniors aware how to protect themselves is incredibly important. And trying to, like when we tell them, if somebody gets information from you or steals from you, it's very difficult for us to get those monies back. That's why it's really so important to be aware and be careful and tell people to be alert and tread carefully. We've seen all sorts of scams going on, too numerous to go on during this segment, but I will say, talk about a few of them. We're dealing with contractor scams right now, where individuals are taking advantage of our seniors. And, because who doesn't want to get their home upgraded, make sure that they can fix their house, fix their business, whatever it may be. It involves hiring a contractor. And all too often, we're dealing with contractors who maybe they did shoddy work, maybe they built them of their monies, or maybe they didn't show up at all. They just took their money. And be careful when you do that, when you hire somebody. Make sure that, because it's such a sense of betrayal when somebody that you trust, that you put your hard-earned money into, to make sure that you can try to do the best that you can to make your home have more value. And unfortunately, many times these cases are so incredibly difficult to prove. We have to prove certain intents at the times that the individuals receive the money, largely by false pretenses. It's never always that easy. So, we've made indictments of some cases. We have ongoing matters right now where people have been ripped off by contractors. But, some tips to avoid these sort of things is, only use licensed contractors. You can confirm that online. Make sure there's a signed contract between you and the contractor, their full name, their registration number, their social security number, business name, things such as that. Get a detailed description of the work and also the materials to be used. Get the total price up front. Never give them more than a third of the monies up front. And also get a start and finish date, because many times these cases will go on and on forever, and eventually they just stop showing up. So I think, a word to the wise is just do your homework as you go forward with that. One of the other terrible things we see going on right now with our seniors and lots of other people are romance scams, where individuals are going online. As people get older, they're obviously, like anybody, can be lonely. They go on dating sites, dating applications, and whatever it may be. And there is a lot of people out there who are trying to lure people in, try to catfish them with fake pictures, trying to make sure that they can get their information and develop a relationship online. Because quite honestly, you're never going to meet these people. These people are going to send you pictures. They're going to give you a story. They're always going to be a doctor in a war zone. They're going to be working on an oil rig. They're going to be somewhere else. And eventually they'll apply on your emotions, and it's going to start small, whether it's going to be small amounts of money or small amounts of information that they want. And they will also profess very quickly that, they love you, they want to be with you. And the words that people want to hear. And unfortunately, people put their guards down. Romance scams are nothing new. They've been around forever. I think social media has really exacerbated them, though, and made them quicker for individuals to go after more than one person. They don't have to focus on one anymore. They can focus on many throughout the course of these relationships that they put online. And trying to get the monies back is so very, very hard. And people don't want to believe that this is actually happening. And the worst thing anybody can do is, if they do get ripped off by one of these romance scam is not tell anybody. We've got to get the word out who these individuals are. We need to make sure we put their faces out to the extent that we have them, their information, their modus operandi, whatever it is. We have to get that out there, because you may be able to prevent it. And one woman who was ripped off from one of these individuals, she actually did that. And a lot of people don't want to do it because they're embarrassed. So this woman did it. And by doing it and putting it on her social media, other women started coming out of the woodwork saying, you know what, that guy did that to me too. So you get the word out, so therefore it can't happen to somebody else. Just, stay alert, be careful, never send, inappropriate photographs, which can be used to blackmail you later on. We try to make them aware of those sort of things. And we continue to also talk about grandparent scams, which are ongoing and changing to the world that we live in. These individuals who are doing these scams, whether they be contractor scams or romance or grandparents, they may be criminals, but they are not stupid. And what they can do is they can make sure that they can lure you in and get that information from you. And they attack your monies, your feelings, your emotions. They get you at weak moments. And they take advantage of seniors who, let's face it, seniors come from a different time when people were more trusting. You don't believe that somebody's going to call you up in the middle of the night and say that they're your grandchild. And you probably figure, well, I'll know my grandchild's voice. That could never happen to me. Well, it can happen. And with artificial intelligence, which is coming our way right now, which can really change people's voices, and there's really no set defense to that yet, the challenges are going to be great. Make sure that if you get one of those calls, don't be afraid to reach out to your daughter, your son, whoever it may be that is the parent of that child, because they're going to tell you not to do it. Because you know what? If it's not a scam, what is the harm? It's the same thing with romance scams. They try to get you away from your family. Make sure you talk to the people you trust most, people who may have more an objective look at that situation, and put yourself in a position where that can't happen. So when people are looking for you, when they're trying to get you to send money, whether it be on the phone when they call you up or through your cell phone, when they're asking for monies, or we all heard that IRS scam a few years ago where people are yelling at you and saying, if you don't pay this money, we're going to come and arrest you. And then they're willing to take a $500 gift card from Shaw's, though. I mean, think of that for a second. I mean, the IRS isn't going to do that. And the public agencies aren't going to do that. They're not going to take some alternative payment that they could possibly do. So I think that the most important thing we can do is, once again, raise the awareness, talk about these issues constantly, ongoing. I think that's what we try to do. We make ourselves available if you have any questions, to call us at the DA's office. And if you have any other information or any other questions, you can always start by going online with us, PlymouthDA.com. It gives us access to phone numbers, to resources, to access whatever might be out there. So if you have questions, we can go forward with that. Thanks for listening to me today.
Tim, I do have a question. When you were talking about the romance scams, are they actually using the same names and the same pictures with multiple people?
I think sometimes they do if they find an attractive picture. And that's one thing you can do. You can also Google search the photographs to see if they pop up, because usually they're always going to put a very attractive person on that, but they can get pictures from anywhere. So as they're going out in that world, let's face it, if you're smart enough to not fall for it, they're going to have other pictures out there also. So even though you figure one person out, be careful. There's a lot. I'm not saying everybody's out there trying to hurt you, but with everybody out there, especially online, it really does matter to proceed with caution.
Got it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Joseph McDonald Jr., Plymouth County Sheriff. Thank you, Sheriff McDonald, for joining us today. Can you talk about tips for our seniors to stay safe? And will you also discuss what the safety assurance program is?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that, Beth. I appreciate being invited today to talk about these things. I want to thank Tim for sharing some of those scams. Tim mentioned that we go around to a lot of the senior centers, which we do, and we talk about those scams. And some of the ones that Tim didn't mention, that I do want to mention very briefly, you see a lot of government or apparently government-based emails and things that you will receive, or law enforcement-based. A lot of times, and it's not just in Plymouth County that this is happening, individuals will reach out to you by phone or by email, identifying themselves either as a deputy sheriff or a local police officer or someone in a government office, and seek to solicit money from you. Within the last year, I received a very interesting email. I couldn't find it in my box, or I would have printed it, but I received an email from the United States Treasury Department from Janet Yellen, who is the Secretary of the Treasury. And the good news is, apparently they have $1 million that belongs to me, and I only had to pay the taxes on that. So I guess I got that going for me. But one of the things that I do want to point out is, when you receive those emails, always look at what the return email is. If it's not a .gov that's a big hint right there that that's a problem. Not only that, but if it relies on an unbelievable premise, such as you have $1 million coming to you, that, you got to be careful of those, always keep your guard up. And the other thing that I will mention that Tim and I mention a lot when we speak is never, ever feel embarrassed that you fall for these scams, because these scammers are professionals and they are good at what they do. The most important thing we tell people, if you can get it to us early, sometimes we're able to piece it back together and do a prosecution to the extent that it's local. Sometimes it's not local, it's actually international. But those are the kinds of things that we need to know for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is so we can get on it and prosecute it, but also you may be preventing many, many other people from falling for the exact same scam, and that's important. So never be embarrassed. We had a young lady a couple of years ago who received a phone call from someone purporting to be one of our deputies looking to collect a civil debt. She happened to be driving by the office while she was on the phone with the person alleging to be the deputy. She stopped in and went to our communications department only to find out she had gone and bought gift cards and she was in the process of giving them the numbers. That one had a happy ending because she drove by, pulled in, we found out that it was not legitimate. And she came around and spoke with Tim and I on a couple of occasions, did a couple of appearances, and we appreciated that. So it's important. If something happens, not even just to you, if you know of something, please let us in law enforcement know. We can get the word out, and that's the quickest way that we can shut down these scams. So having said that, I do want to talk about our safety assurance program. I think a lot of folks are familiar with that. Formerly, it was known as Are You OK, which was an acronym, but an effective one. We recently, a few years ago, upgraded our hardware and software that we're using for this. And basically what that involves is an individual, regardless of their age, anybody can do this. They will receive at the time of their choosing a telephone call in the morning. And it's an automated system, so at least initially, so that you're able to choose from a list of items. If you're okay, press 1. If you're not okay, press 2. If you need emergency assistance, if you want to talk to somebody, press 3. Those types of things. And although it's automated, it is always monitored by one of our communications officers, which I think is very, very important. You choose the time and you also choose what the response is. So let me just give you some stats here. Last year, our communications department made a total of 25,318 safety assurance calls. And this year through March, we have done 6,109 calls. So that's a lot of calls. And what's great about those is the officers who monitor this are standing by. As I said, you choose the time. If you have any type of an issue, if there's an emergency, obviously you want to let us know about that. If you need to talk to someone, you're not sure if it's an emergency, you have that option as well. And I'll share one quick story. We did have what we call a save in this program is when a client doesn't respond to those checks. And in those instances that they don't respond, sometimes, well, the response is chosen by the individual. So we don't necessarily notify first responders right away. We can notify a family member, or we can notify a trusted neighbor, another relative, somebody that you trust. And we will reach out to that person initially. And oftentimes when there is no answer, the good news is, and this is most of the time, that they're off in Disney World or they're on a nice vacation someplace and there's a very reasonable explanation for them not answering the phone. That's fine. That's a happy ending for us. However, there are circumstances where people don't answer the phone because something has gone wrong. And what we would do in that instance is we would initiate that contact through that requested either a trusted neighbor or a relative. They will do that well-being check. We will talk with them. If there is no explanation, then oftentimes we do involve first responders. And sometimes, I know last year we had 3 saves. And a save, as I said, is credited when a client doesn't respond to the safety checks and the family members of the first responders are notified and medical assistance is provided. Last year, we had 3 of those. And one of them I do want to note, our communications officer did a great job. There was a call to a client who she was a little slow to answer that call, had checked off that she wanted to talk to somebody. And when she spoke to our communications officer, indicated that she had taken a fall, but was doing okay and did not need any assistance. Well, the communications officer happened to know that this individual had some health issues and was on oxygen and made a call, a judgment call, thankfully, that they did want to have someone go by to do a well-being check. The first responders did go and found out that she was in fact on the floor and in need of medical assistance imminently. So that was a good one. That was a save. And those are the types of things that you can't automate. That's why we always want to make sure that even though it's an automated system, we do have our live communications officers who are standing by to talk with you about those issues and to send help when you need it. So that program is out there. Please feel free to avail yourself of that. There is no cost. You choose the time of the call in the morning. You can also suspend the service. You can end the service whenever you want to, and there is no cost. So if you call our main phone number, 508-830-6200, that'll put you right through to our communications center, and you can let them know that you want to get involved with the safety assurance program, and they will be more than happy to help you with that. Another program that I did want to talk about also, and hopefully a lot of folks know about this as well, is our Code Red, which is what you might know as a reverse 911. We do it through Plymouth County Sheriff's Office here for both Plymouth County and Bristol County. We take care of both. And it's important to note because a lot of folks now don't have landlines. They've got cell phones. And I'm one of the few dinosaurs. I have both, and I rely on both. Now, geographically, what we do, this reverse 911, what it does, it basically gets information. And this is all going to be public safety related information that we want you to know about. We want you to, we can look at a phone number and know geographically at least where that phone number is located. That doesn't mean, though, if you have a cell number, you could have moved. And recently, my in-laws moved from the town of Westwood to the town of Duxbury and kept their landline phone number. So you want to make sure that geographically we know where you are, so we're not bothering you with information that is not relevant to where you live. And usually this will involve things that are of public safety nature or convenience, like if there are road closures due to construction, things of that nature. We would not bother you with superfluous things such as advertising or even, let's say, a PTO bake sale. That's not part of this. This is all having to do with public safety and the safety of our individual, not just our seniors, but everybody in general. So, please feel free to contact us, to reach out to us, to talk about any of those programs and give them a try, because there is no cost associated with either of those programs. Our phone number again is 508-830-6200. And if you want to reach out to us on the web, you can get to us www.pcsdma.org. So I appreciate your time and your attention. And I just want to reiterate, we work for you. We're here to help. And, please keep that in mind and contact us anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you all for joining us today. I think we gave our community a lot of information and a lot of things to gnaw on. We have a lot of ways for people to communicate with us. No issue is too small. Call any one of these people on this call and we will reach back out to you. If you see something, say something. That is the absolute most important thing. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Terry Kourtz. Thank you, Tim Cruz. And thank you, Joseph McDonald, for joining me today.